we are using the Super Aim framework to evaluate this large project across 4 countries. So that includes this participatory approach, engaging youth in co-creation and also engaging stakeholders in the different sites. And what's really unique about this project is that we're contrasting 2 European contexts with 2 African contexts. And so we want to understand in as much detail as possible about how the program is implemented, how the program is working, what are the factors within these different environments that enable it to work well, how can this program be adopted going forward in the future, could be maintained, and really understanding some of the complexities around the differences between the contexts, but also what can be really interesting is to see across these global settings what are the similarities as well, and that's in terms of how it's implemented, what the impact of the interventions is ultimately, but also how the participatory approaches work in these different contexts, and what can we learn about what is common to youth across different contexts that could be applied in other global settings, and what are some of the unique contextual realities that we need to take into account when engaging youth in these kinds of projects. We're also interested in understanding things like agency and empowerment, and what does that look like in different countries? How do youth in these different settings understand their ability to make choices around their health and around their behaviors, and what are the factors that influence those choices? One of the unique opportunities for this project across these 4 different countries is to understand how we can evaluate across the different settings using some common measures that can be harmonized across settings, but also what are some of the measures that may be more unique and relevant to each particular site. That's also going to depend on what the intervention looks like, what the youth identify as their priorities, how do they want to implement this. So we have to be guided by the local context, guided by evidence as well, and then from all of that, then understand what are the ways in which we can find some of the common threads and use common measures that can work across these different settings. And obviously that's a whole area of research in itself, in that many measures are often optimized much more for high income countries. So how could they work in different settings where in low middle income countries where language is a challenge, or perhaps educational opportunities that affects comprehension and literacy. So it's understanding those complexities, but how can we work with these tools to make sure that they're used as best as possible in each setting, and what can we learn from the ways in which we can harmonize our measurement, but also then recognize that there's certain things that may be unique to certain settings. And we have quantitative approaches to that as well as qualitative, and so how we then can explore in our qualitative methods some of the nuances and the complexities around those measurement issues, around the understanding of concepts, and how can we use that understanding to kind of better shape how we measure things across the different settings. So it's a great combination of quantitative and qualitative approaches that really help us to get a well-rounded picture, and that helps us to understand not only the differences but also the similarities between the contexts and how things are measured.